What's up, FOA Squad? I'm Anthony and welcome to our channel, Life with Anthony. I hope you guys are doing well out there. Happy whatever day I get to post this video for you guys. Alright guys, today is going to be a story time of what's been going on with my truck. I've been having some problems with my truck that's been going on now for about 3 weeks to about 3.5 weeks. If you are someone, FOA, that keeps up with the community page, you know that I have been taking my truck in for service because both times that I went at that time, I posted a video, a picture of me at the dealership. So, let me go back and take you guys through the timeline and talk about what happened or didn't happen at each of the visits that I went to the Chevy dealership. Alright, so, as I said, I was driving and those 3 messages came up. So I don't know whether I was on my way back to the campground, whether I was going to the movies, whether I was going to Home Depot, wherever. So let's just assume that I was on my way back to the campground. So I got back to the campground, I turned the truck off, and then the next day I started the truck back up. And let me see, in addition to those 3 messages coming up, 3 icons were coming up as well. The check engine light, the tire slippery light, and another little icon was coming up. So I had the 3 messages going on and those 3 lights were lit up as well. So the second day I started the truck up, the 3 messages was gone and just the check engine light was on. The other 2 end ones were gone, just the middle one, which was the check engine light, was still on. So I went ahead and drove somewhere, wherever I went, got back, and then the following day I turned my truck on and the check engine light was gone. So I started the sensor cycle that whenever it might happen, or everything would be on at the beginning, then when I turn my truck off, if I go into the movies and then come out of the movies, just the check engine light will be on. Then the following day, the check engine light would be off and the whole cycle would start all over again. So that happened for about 3 days. And then I said, okay, I'm going to make an appointment now. Because at first I thought that it was over with, because the next time all of it happened, another 2 or 3 days had passed by and nothing happened. And then let's just say the 3rd day or 4th day after the initial all of those sick things came up on my dash, it happened again. That's when I decided I was going to make an appointment and take it in. So my first appointment, I went in and I told them what happened. I told them about the 3 messages that come up along with the 3 lights that's lit up on the dash. They wrote everything down and then they took my truck. I was there that first visit for about, I don't know, 4 to 5 hours. It seemed like it was forever. At the end of the day, they came to me and said that, you know, they need more time to work on the truck. And they wanted to know if I wanted to schedule another appointment. So I said yes. But I told them it has to be after I come back from my trip, because I was heading to Japan in another day. So, a day or 2. So I went on a Japan trip. I made the appointment for 2 days after I came back from Japan. When I got back from Japan, I took my truck back to the same dealership for the 2nd time. But this time, as within those 2 days that I took the truck to the dealership for the 2nd time, those messages and lights came back up. But this time, I took photos of it. I took photos of all 3 messages and everything that came up. So when I went into the dealership the 2nd time around, I showed them the photos. I said, this is what keeps coming up on my dash. So while the lady was typing her stuff in, she said, oh, you have 2 recalls on this truck. I said, okay. So that day, that visit, they focused on getting the 2 recalls fixed. So at the end of the day, they did end up fixing the 2 recalls, but did not work on the business at hand, or the main reason I took the truck in there. So again, at the end of the day, I left out of there with nothing done to resolve the issue at hand. So I left there, and I decided that I was going to make another appointment. Then Adolfo suggested that I go to a different dealership and see what they have to say about it. So I made the appointment for the third time at a different dealership. I went there, I showed them the photos of what's going on, I told them about it, and at that time, before I went to that dealership, I had looked up on the internet and see what could be the most common reason why my service traction control message would come up there. And they said that it could be the wheel spin sensor, that on each of the wheels there is a wheel spin sensor, and if one of those sensors faulty, it could throw the whole system off. So I took that information to them the third time and told them, could it be that or whatnot? So they went ahead and wrote me a ticket up. They took my truck, and this is the visit that I got the most information, so to speak, on about anything. Because the first two dealerships, they didn't even mention anything about codes or anything. They just was like, oh, let's work on the recalls or whatever. They didn't even come out to me and say, hey, these are the codes that we came up with, yada, yada, yada. And I thought that was kind of fishy. You know, something is rotten in the state of Denmark here. And so this third one took the truck in, and I was communicating with this one guy the entire time. Not the guy that initially talked to me when I walked into the dealership, but another guy. The guy who actually wrote the ticket up, or opened up the ticket. So he came back to me and said that we really can't do anything because we need to see the messages up on the dash before we can run the codes, which I thought was strange. So he said, I'm gonna have someone take the truck out and drive it. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you know god darn well that those messages are not gonna come up there, because it never fails. Something can be going wrong. You can hear a noise or something in your vehicle, and as soon as you take it to the dealership, the noise disappears and you don't hear it, and you can't show the people or have the people listen to what's going on. It never fails. So the guy took the truck out and drove it, and then the guy came back to me about 15-20 minutes and said, I have some information. The messages did come up. And so I asked him, I said, well, what did he see? And so he said he took some pictures, and he showed me the pictures, and it was the 3 messages that came up. And I'm thinking, okay, now we're getting somewhere, you know. Hey, you got the messages now. You got proof that the messages, not that it wasn't proof enough that I showed you the pictures myself. And so, hey, let's get something going here. So the next time he came out and talked to me, he gave me this white piece of paper that had 3 codes on it. He said, these are the 3 codes that came up. And I'm thinking, okay. So I asked him, I said, are any of these 3 codes related to the issue at hand? He said, I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. You know, I'm talking back and forth to the mechanic, bringing you what he tells me. I said, okay. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, okay, you're a little behind back there, and get some information about these codes here, you know? So I told him, I said, well, okay, we need to address these codes too. Because these 3 codes could very well be the issue, you know? So we need to get these 3 codes. This is what I'm telling the guy, so he can go back and tell the mechanic. We need to get these 3 codes fixed. And then that might resolve the issue of what's going on with the truck. So later on, we got to talking again, and I'm thinking, oh, Lord. At the end of the day, again, nothing. They didn't do anything. with the truck. They didn't do anything. So I asked the guy, I said, so he gives me the white paper with the 3 codes on as a closing paper. I said, he said, if you want, we can make an appointment, bring you back in on Monday if you can let us keep the truck for a few days and we can further investigate it. And I'm thinking, oh man, I need to get going to Ohio, this, that, and the other. And I'm sitting up there debating whether I should cancel the Ohio trip and let them keep the truck. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go to Ohio, and then I'll get a Chevrolet dealer close to the campground. They even took the time and looked. I told them where the campground was, the zip code. They found a Chevrolet dealership nearby. They even called the Chevrolet dealership up in Ohio, made the appointment for me, and then that was that. I decided that I'm going to Ohio. And then from the time, and I bet you they were thinking, woo, got that off our hands, boy. We don't have to deal and worry about that, boy. So let Ohio deal with it. Then, from the time I left the dealership and got back to the campground, I changed my mind. I said, you know what? I'm not going to Ohio because I'm not going to put Ohio miles on my truck, which takes me closer to my warranty being over with. I need these things fixed while my warranty, I still have a few thousand miles on my warranty. And so I decided that I wasn't going to Ohio. I called Ohio. I told them that I was not coming. I'm not going to make it that first week because my truck is having problems. And so I asked them, is it possible to put that, oh, excuse me. I asked them, is it possible to put that first week on the back end of my reservation? Because initially I was going there for 3 weeks, then I would leave there, go on my next trip, and go back to the campground for another 3 weeks. So they said, yeah, we can do that. So they put the first week of my reservation on the back end. So instead of leaving August the 13th now, I'll be leaving August the 20th. And I told him I don't know how long they're going to need my truck. I might have to make some changes to the second week. And he was just like, let us know, and you know, we can take it from there. That is the kind of service that I like. You know, they understand things happen in life and that you have to make some changes almost at the drop of a dime. And so they were nice enough to do that for me. They did that for me once before when my mom passed away. I had to rearrange things, and their campground was part of my rearranging, and they understood, and they let me put it on the back end as well, as opposed to some campgrounds, they would say, oh, well, we can't do that, and I lose my money. So I'm really taking a liking to this campground, Freedom Valley in New London, Ohio. There are some nice guys there. 2 couples run that campground, and they do so well with it. So I'm very grateful and thankful that they allowed me to do that. Now I was okay in the back of my mind that if I lost my money, I lost my money. It's more important that I get this truck fixed. So after I changed my mind, when I got back to the campground, I went on my Chevrolet app, and I made an appointment because they were closed. The service department was closed when I got back to the campground. So I didn't want to wait until Monday to call them and say, hey, I think I will bring it in on Monday, because it would have been already Monday. So I made the appointment on my Chevy app, and they have a comment section, and I wrote on there, I changed my mind, I'm bringing my truck in, I'm not going to Ohio, I'd rather have my truck worked on, yada, yada, yada. And then when Monday came around, that's how it happened. Then when Monday came around, wait a minute, I'm a little confused now. Because I did call the guy, but I don't remember which day it was. Maybe that was Thursday, and I called him Friday. Yes, I went to that appointment on Thursday, and I called him the next day, Friday, because Thursday when I got back to the campground, they were closed, the service department. So the next day, Friday, yes, Friday, I called them and told them that I would bring it in on Monday. I changed my mind. I'm not going to Ohio. I need to get my truck worked on. So you can tell when people was like, okay, bring it in on Monday. I still have you down for Monday. I said, okay, I'll bring it by Monday around 10 o'clock. That's what the appointment I made on my app. On the app. So this is where I stand. I'm taking it back. I think it's going to be Monday that I'll post this video. So you will see by the time I post this video, I hopefully would have taken my truck back to the dealership. Now here's something that I found very interesting. They said that they could have somebody that would bring me back to the campground. And I thought, well, you know, I don't really want to be stuck on the campground. I don't know how long you're going to have the truck, and yada, yada, yada. So I called them back and asked them, do they do a loaner car? And they said, we don't do loaner cars, but we do rental cars. And since your truck is still under warranty, that would take care of it. At least that's what I heard. I hope I heard right, because you know sometimes you just hear things you want to hear. So he said, okay, we'll set that up for you when you come in on Monday. I said, okay. So I think that the rental car is going to be covered by the warranty. It better be. So that's that part. Now here's something interesting. Mike, my friend Mike, he's an FOA. We went to Home Depot on Sunday, which was yesterday. And as we were riding back, the messages came up on the dash. He had already known about the messages because I told him before. And when it came up, I said, see, this is what's keep coming up on my dash. And then he said, if there's a Advanced Auto Parts nearby, we can stop past there and they'll plug you in and tell you a code or whatever if anything comes up for free. I said, oh yeah? So I knew we were going to pass an Advanced Auto Parts because, you know, it's right next, not too far from the McDonald's that I go to. So, you know, anything in that proximity, I probably know it's there because I go to the McDonald's all the time. So we stopped at the Advanced Auto Parts. He went in and said what he said, and he and another guy that worked there came out, and I left my truck running so that he can see the messages up there if he needed to. So he plugged it in, and I kid you not, within a minute, a code came up. The code was P0697 came up. And I said, wow. Then the guy got on his phone and looked that message up, and it had something to do with like a loss of power, some kind of circuit board, that if it's not right, you know, I lose power, I won't be able to keep up to highway speed, that type of thing. So it was an electrical problem. And so Mike asked him, is it something that he can like buy from the store and change it out? He said, no, it's a little more in depth than that. So I was like, okay. Now when Mike and I got back to the campground, I showed him the white paper that had the 3 codes on it. Lord and behold, one of the codes was the same code that the guy came up at the Advanced Auto Parts. It was the middle one. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. Now I know when I take this back in there Monday, and I'm going to tell them too. I took this to Advanced Auto Parts and they plugged it in and they came up with that second code. They didn't come up with the other 2 codes. They came up with that second code. So I'm going to need y'all to fix these 3 things on this sheet here, because that's what I believe one of these things, if not all, will resolve the problem that's going on. I believe it. I believe that that will help resolve the problem that's going on. And the other thing that I forgot to tell you guys is this. Whenever that traction control came on, I was hearing a squealing noise on my right passenger front wheel. And then when I first heard it, the messages and stuff was on there. I was on my way to Sawmill, and I wanted to stop at a Walmart before I went to the campground. So I pulled into the Walmart. I was slowing down, of course, And as I was pulling into the Walmart parking spot that I chose, I heard this, and I'm thinking, what in the hoot nanny was that? And at that time, I wasn't putting two to two together. You know, I wasn't thinking, okay, maybe that's a result of these messages coming up on my screen here, my dash. But as it kept on happening, when those messages, because when those messages weren't up there, I heard nothing coming from that front wheel. And then when that came up on there, and I started seeing a pattern, and I was telling, that's when the second time I went into the dealership, I told them that I'm hearing a squealing noise when that service traction come on. And it could be I don't know, one of those messages is affecting my tire. So they wrote that down, you know, hearing a squealing noise from the passenger front tire, this, that, and the other. And I thought it was strange because I don't hear that, whether I'm turning left or right. I don't hear that squealing noise if those messages are not up there. So I know it has something to do with when those messages come up there. So, in a nutshell, they have however long they need, hopefully within just a week, to fix those codes that came up on that sheet. I'm stopping at Advanced Auto Parts and ask them to hook it up again so that code can come back on there. He had like a little handheld reader. I want to take a picture of that. I want to take a picture of that code so when I get to the dealership, I can show them and say, this is the code that came up on the Advanced Auto Parts reader, and this is the second code that's on this piece of paper right here. So I'm gonna need you guys in the next few days that you have my truck. I'm gonna need you to fix these codes right here. How about that? Can you do that for me? Fix the codes. I don't care how involved it is. I don't care if you have to take the whole motherfucking pardon me, but this can be very frustrating, you know. But I don't care if you have to take the whole goddamn engine apart. I want my truck fixed. Oh, now I got the hiccups. Oh Lord, I'm falling apart here as I age. But yeah, I want it fixed, you know. And then Mike was telling me, he said, look into the Florida lemon law. He said, because this is the 5th time that you are taking your truck in there and you're letting them keep it for however long. And if they don't fix it then, he said, look into that Florida lemon law. You might can get another truck. I said, I don't know nothing about no Florida lemon law. I heard about the lemon laws before, but I don't know nothing about it. But I'm going to look into it just out of curiosity anyway. But yeah, look, I'm proud of myself because I'm being aggressive with these people, and I'm letting them people know that no, you will not keep sending me out of these dealerships with nothing done to fix my problem. You know, you need to fix this. And in my mind, I'm thinking you need to fix it while my warranty is still is active. Shoot, get it done. But anyway, guys, that is what's been happening with me with this truck. I don't feel comfortable taking the truck on long trips because anything could happen. Last thing I need is for me to drive this truck and something more damaging happen to the truck as a result of the issues not being resolved. So, cross your fingers, cross your eyes, cross your legs, cross your ears. What else we got 2 of? Cross your arms, cross your butt cheeks, whatever we have 2 of on our body. Cross them and hope that these people get my truck fixed so that I can start continuing on with my life, because I'm really frustrated with this. This has been going on for close to a month now, and I really need to get it done. Oh, let me tell you what else. They tried to blame it on the first dealership I took it to. They tried to blame it on me having a topper on a camper on the back of my truck. And you know what I told them people when they came out and told me that? They said the tires could be spinning because of the extra weight on there. You know what I told them people? I said, with all due respect, sir, I am not a mechanic by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think that I'm a logical person most of the time. But that does not make sense to me, because I've had that truck camper on the top of my truck for 8 months now. I even pulled my travel trailer with that truck, you know, for almost a year. Why? Well, you know, several times, not a year, but several times. Why after 8 months would this happen? And I told him that travel trailer, that topper weighs only 295 pounds. It's made out of aluminum. It is way below the weight capacity of what can be sat on top of that truck, and or what can be pulled by that truck, whatever way you put it. So I didn't buy that. I didn't buy that at all, you know, because the truck topper is so light. Why on earth would it have that type of effect? And so, especially after me having it on there for so long already, I would have bought it if he said, you know, you need new tires or something like that. But to say that that was the reason, I think they don't know. When people do stuff like that to me, it means that they don't have any idea of what the real problem is. And he wrote that on my paper, and I'm proud of myself because I read that whole paper. They gave me 2 pages that first time. I read the whole 2 pages before I walked out there. And I said, no, this was the second time, the second one. I read the whole 2 pages because it had everything about the recalls, but nothing about what they did for the problem at hand. And I read that. I said, so you didn't find anything about why I brought the truck in? And they were like, no, we did not find anything. I was like, okay. But we fixed the recalls. I was like, okay. So this is where I stand now with my truck. Hopefully in the next few days they will fix my truck so I can make it to Ohio by the 2nd week of my reservation. Woo, that was something else. Now I'm debating whether I should take you guys out and show you my shower, because I moved my shower, but I'll do that some other time. I just want to dedicate this video to this story time about my truck. So again, cross your fingers, hope that I get this truck resolved. And in all seriousness, I really want them to fix my truck, because I'm stacking up a lot of information about Chevy and this little path, because like I said, I got all my paperwork from each visit, and I read each of the paperwork to make sure that they have what they didn't do or what they did that day, because I'm here 5-6 hours, 4 or 5 hours each time. So I hope they fix it. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video. As always, thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day to watch my videos. I appreciate you guys, you know that. And I'll see you guys the next time.